A black woman in a sleek blazer strode up to the first-class check-in at Summit Airlines, only to be met with a smug, "You're not on the list." And before the agent could draw his next breath, she delivered a lesson so precise and searing it left them staggering in regret, not a selfish halt of the heavens, but a swift, unyielding strike they'd carry like a scar that morning. Monica Jackson swept into Los Angeles International's Terminal 2 with a quiet intensity that didn't plead for attention, but seized it outright at 39. She was the CEO of Brooks Technologies, a tech titan that resurrected dying startups into profit-churning empires, her name carved into industry honors and patent ledgers, her face a purposeful enigma. She wore a navy suit, tailored to a fine edge but devoid of ostentation, a leather tote slung over her shoulder, no garish logos, just the subtle sheen of authority. Her braids were pulled into a tight low bun, her gold watch ticking with metronomic calm as she approached the counter primed for Flight 893. To San Francisco, the agent Evan Cooper, a wiry man with a wilted tie and a badge pinned to skew, didn't lift his gaze from the screen. Boarding pass. He grunted, fingers drumming a board rhythm on the keyboard. Monica slid it across. First class, 915A. M, her name, in stark bold print, undeniable as stone. He scanned it, squinted at the barcode, scanned again, then flicked it back with a dismissive twist of his wrist, like it was a crumpled receipt. Nope, not in the system. Monica's voice came steady, laced with steel. It's there? Check it properly. Evan's lip curled into a smirk, his eyes brushing hers for a split second before darting away. I did. You're not on this flight? Maybe you meant economy over there. He jerked his thumb toward the snaking mess of general boarding, already pivoting to the next. Passenger, a white guy in a polo, who got a brisk, "Sir, good morning," and a nod. Monica planted her feet, voice dropping to a low, taut hum. "I'm not moving. This is my ticket, first class." Paid confirmed look again. Evan's smirk wavered. He leaned forward, jabbing the keys harder. The screen flickering like a taunt, ma'am. "I'm telling you you're not here. Step aside now, or I call security." The line rustled. A woman in a cashmere scarf huffed audibly. A businessman tapped his foot with a glance at his watch, irritation rippling outward. Monica pulled her phone, scrolled to the confirmation email date. Time seat, 3C Summit, Airline's logo blazing in black and white, and held it out. Explain this. Then Evan snatched it from her hand, skimmed it with a scoff, and tossed it back across the counter, the paper skidding to a stop fake glitch. "Whatever doesn't match, you're done here." His tone was a shove, eyes sweeping over her like she was a speck, to brush off his posture. Screaming, he'd already won a second agent, Lindsay, Carter ponytail yanked tight, and arms crossed like a barricade slid in beside him, her boots clicking sharp on the tile. "What's the holdup?" She snapped her glare, landing square on Monica, summiting her up like a trespasser. "Your system's wrong," Monica said, calm but unbendable. "I'm first class. Fix it." Lindsay snatched the boarding pass, scanned it herself, for her lips thinning into a hard, skeptical line as the scanner beeped. A flat rejection. "Nothing. Sorry, ma'am, you're not boarding." Evan rocked back on his heels, arms folding, smugness blooming, fresh across his face. "Told you move." or we escalate this. The air snapped tight. Monica felt it deep, that old bitter sting of being weighed and discarded her right to stand there, questioned by two people, too careless to dig deeper. She locked eyes with Evan, then Lindsay, her voice cutting through the terminal's drone like a blade through silk. You're making a mistake. Correct it. Or I will. Evan barked a laugh, short and jagged, his head tipping back. Yeah, go for it, sweetheart. Lindsay's smirk bloomed her, fingers already curling around her radio thumb, hovering over the call button, poised to summon muscle. Monica didn't flinch. She stepped closer, boots, silent but deliberate on the scuffed floor, now just inches from the counter's edge, and pulled out her phone. One call, one number. She kept locked in her arsenal for moments like this. Not for theatrics, but for precision. A weapon she wielded with surgical intent. Marcus. She said, voice. A honed edge. O'Hare Horizon Gate. They're denying me first-class tickets. Legit handle it. Now Marcus Reed, her COO, and oldest confidant, didn't hesitate. His tone, clipped and certain over the line, got it 2 minutes. She hung up, pinned Evan with a stare that could have shattered concrete, and waited her presence a quiet storm, swelling in the space. Evan shifted uneasily, his fingers returning to the keyboard, tapping faster now, a faint sheen of sweat glistening on his brow. Come on, low, damn it. He muttered, his voice cracking as the screen blinked, froze, then spat out a red error message. Invalid entry. Sikhouf. He slammed a palm on the counter, the sound sharp, drawing a flinch from a kid in line, clutching a stuffed bear. Lindsay's radio crackled to life. She pressed it to her ear, her eyes widening as a voice hissed through the static, urgent and low. She shot Evan a look, not smug anymore, but rattled, her free hand clutching the counter's edge. What the hell's happening? Evan snapped his voice, pitching higher as he jabbed the keys again. The screen now, a chaotic flicker of glitches, lines of code pop-ups. A digital meltdown. Passengers murmured louder, a ripple of unease spreading. What's taking so long? I've got a connecting flight. This is insane. Monica didn't move, didn't speak. Her silence was a weight pressing down on the chaos, her eyes tracking every twitch of Evan's hands, every dart of Lindsay's gaze. The PA system cut in sharp and jarring. Flight 893 to San Francisco. Boarding paused. Standby for updates. Evan swore, loud and raw. You've got to be kidding me. His fingers flying over keys that refused to obey the screen. Now a mess of frozen data. Lindsay's radio buzzed again, louder this time. She flinched, turning her back to the counter, whispering fiercely into it. Yes, sir. She's still here. What do you mean? Check the VIP list. I don't have access to. Her voice cut off, drowned by the rising tide of passenger complaints. A man in a suit shouting, I paid for. First class, fix this now. A woman with a stroller rocked it back and forth, muttering, unbelievable. Monica stood still, her tote resting by her feet. Like a soldier's pack, her posture unyielding, she was the eye of the storm, watching Evan's bravado crumble. Lindsay's confidence fracture, the gate descending into a frantic tangle of noise and desperation. Then the crowd parted, and a man in a Horizon Air blazer, Greg Hull, gate supervisor, burst through his tie, dangling loose forehead slick with sweat, his badge flapping against his chest as he half ran to the counter, his eyes locked on Monica. Wild, with urgency, Miss Jackson. Monica Jackson. She nodded once, slow and deliberate, her gaze a steady burn that made him shrink. Greg's voice quavered high and brittle. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. There's been a terrible mix-up. You're cleared. We're fixing this right now." Monica's eyes didn't soften her tone. Cold and piercing, fixing. Why was I denied? Greg's hands twisted together, his knuckles white. "A system flag. It's being corrected. I swear flag." She cut in voice, rising just enough to nail him to the spot. Her words a hammer striking steel. "What flagged me, Greg? My ticket's real. Your agents didn't think I was. Why?" Evan shifted behind the counter, his shoulders hunching, eyes darting to the floor. Lindsay clutched, her radio staring at her boots, the static, hissing unanswered. Greg wiped his brow with a trembling hand, stammering, "I don't know yet, ma'am, but corporate's on it. I've got calls out. Not good enough." Monica snapped, stepping closer, her shadow looming over him, her voice a controlled blaze. "You don't get to shrug this off. I want names, reasons now." The gate fell silent. A vacuum of sound. Passengers froze mid-complaint. A toddler's wail choked off the air, thick with a tension that hummed like a live wire. Greg's radio crackled again. He flinched, lifting it to his ear with a shaking hand, his face draining to a sickly gray as a voice barked through. "Miss Jackson," he croaked, his throat bobbing. "They're pulling the logs. Your ticket's reinstated. Boarding's back on. Please, let me." "No," she said, her voice a whip crack that echoed off the glass walls. "You don't escort me anywhere until I know why your people looked at me and saw a fraud." Greg swallowed hard, his Adam's apple jerking. "It's coming from upstairs. 2 minutes, I swear." Monica crossed her arms, her watch ticking like a bomb, her stare drilling. Through him, unrelenting behind the counter, Evan and Lindsay huddled like cornered animals. Screens, flashing red errors, system, failure, access, denied, phones ringing off their hooks, a relentless shrill cutting through the clamor. Evan slammed the keyboard. Again, this is his voice, fraying as he yanked at his tie, loosening it like it was choking him. Lindsay hissed back, "Shut up, Ty. You heard the radio. She's somebody big, and we're screwed." Passengers pressed in tighter. Their voices are rising tide. "What's the delay? I've got a meeting in 3 hours. Fix this or I'm suing Greg." Waved them off, his arms flailing. "We're working on it. Please just wait." His pleas swallowed by the den. Monica stood unmoved, a granite pillar in the storm, her presence bending the chaos. Around her she didn't pace, didn't sigh, just watched Evan's hands tremble, Lindsay's jaw clench, Greg's panic swell into a full-blown meltdown. A woman in line whispered to her husband, "Who is she? A businessman?" Pulled out his phone, recording the red light. Blinking the gate was a pressure cooker, and Monica held the valve. Then Greg's radio erupted, a voice cutting through the noise, loud and clipped, audible to everyone within 10 FT. Jackson's clean CEO of Jackson Dynamics, VIP status, buried in the system. Agents botched it. "Get her on now, Greg." spun to her eyes wide as saucers, pleading in a rush. "Miss Jackson, you're cleared first class, top priority. We didn't know. You didn't ask." She fired back her voice, slicing through his excuses like a guillotine. "You assumed who trained them to assume?" She jabbed a finger at Evan and Lindsay, who shrank under her gaze. Evan's bravado evaporated, his hands stuffed in his pockets. Lindsay smirked. "Gone," her face pale, as she clutched the counter for support. Greg floundered, his words tripping over each other. "We'll find out, ma'am, I promise." "You will," she said, her tone final. "And you'll tell me." She grabbed her tote, slung it over her shoulder with a fluid motion, turned toward the gate, then paused, spinning back on her heel. "One more thing. Those two, they don't touch another passenger until they learn respect. Make it stick." Greg nodded fast, frantic, his head bobbing, like a puppet. "Yes, ma'am, they're off rotation. Retraining starts today. Monica boarded first. In line head high, no apologies required." Evan and Lindsay sidelined, Greg shouting orders in her wake, his voice cracking as he tried to regain control. Her seat was wide and plush, the flight attendants welcome, Mrs. Jackson crisp with a nervous tremor. She didn't sink into the comfort. She sat upright, replaying the clash, the smirk, the dismissal. The exact second they realized she wasn't bluffing, Marcus texted, "You good?" "Yeah," she shot back. "Nailed him hard." He sent a fist bump emoji. She allowed a faint smirk, real and fleeting, a flicker of triumph in her eyes. By noon, Horizon's Gate was a wreckage. Evan and Lindsay yanked from duty, Greg on the phone with corporate passengers, still buzzing about the woman who froze the flight. She hadn't frozen, it just bent it until it bowed to her will. Word raced through the ranks. Horizon issued a memo. Agents reassigned system flags. Under scrutiny, Monica's name marked untouchable. She landed in San Francisco, met by Marcus, who grinned wide as she stepped off the jetway. "Heard you made them. Sweat buckets. They earned every drop," she said, brushing past him, her stride. "Unbroken lunch work first. They don't forget this back at O'Hare." Evan punched out early, grumbling about overblown nonsense as he stormed off his badge, clattering into a locker. Lindsay stayed head bowed, locked into a 6A. Retraining. She couldn't escape her hands fidgeting with a pen. Greg emailed Monica that night, his tone subdued. "Miss Jackson, agents, disciplined, full flag audit. Launched your inputs in the training module." "Thank you." She read it, nodded to herself, the screen's glow reflecting in her eyes. No grand chaos, no selfish spectacle, just a lesson, swift and piercing, etched deep into Horizon's core. They doubted her, regretted it in a heartbeat, and she walked away, taller, leaving them to sweep up the shards of their own shattered assumptions. For every time you've been dismissed, undervalued, or told you don't belong, this one's yours. Monica didn't torch the place. She locked it down and kept the key. If this lit a spark in you, smash that like, share it. Loud drop, a comment, and subscribe. Because stories like hers deserve to ring out, and we're only just warming up.